This one does work.
Spoony's got the working mic.
We don't live in England, we live in ice towers. We require missiles.
Hey.
Okay. All right, so this is how to make a great web show, and I don't have a projector or anything, so I'm just going to have to go off some notes here. I was going to start it off a little technical, telling you, what to expect, how much money you're, and going to end up spending on camera, software, things like that. And more importantly, and information that's really hard to find, is how much money you can expect to make from it, which is not very much. Okay, because that's the #1 question I get, so I want to share that information with you guys just for myself.
Not very much is a lot in this industry.
I'm not going to share that. Okay, so let's just start with this. In this industry, there pretty much are no rules if you're good enough. So I'm going to be giving you some tips and some pointers of things that I think is successful strategies. But again, if you're really funny, or you're really intelligent, or clever, it'll come through over the camera, and people will pick up on it. You just have to establish your audience. Like if you're funny enough, charismatic enough, and interesting to watch, there are no rules. So you can get away with pretty much anything.
Silence!
It's important to know that this business is just as much about luck as it is about talent. It really is. If it not had been for this wonderful man sitting to my right, picking me up on that guy with the glasses, I probably wouldn't have been able to reach the level of doing this, as a full-time job on my own. Previously, I was just on YouTube struggling to try to make it there. So, like I said, it's important to go in this with a passion for what you're doing, whether you're talking about games, whether you're talking about movies, comics, or something more creative, like maybe the next cooking show for nerds or geeks, or something cool like cosplay, how to do some cosplay stuff. So anyway,
something if I can add to that. Something I always want to make very, very, very clear, because he's very true, that is very much the luck factor does play a big part in it, and something that's very, very important. And I think a lot of people, like when they go to California, Hollywood, all that sort of, they figure out is that if you're going to do this, you have to do it because you love it. You have to do it because you would be doing it anyway. Because there's a very large possibility you won't make it. I mean, we all have faced that possibility. If you do, great, but you want to be able to say by the end that, it was still worth it. Like, even if you went nowhere and never got anywhere, you're glad you did because you're doing what you love and you tried it. So I think that's very, very important. If you're doing it like, I'm doing this to get rich, or I'm doing it to get famous, you're gonna, even if you get famous, you're gonna fail because you can't go in for that reason.
Okay, so I guess I'll just get started here. Noah gave a great presentation yesterday. I don't know if you were in his. Speak for just a little bit, but I wanted to say first that we have different approaches to this. My advice to you, his advice to you, if you didn't go to that panel, was, you can do it on the cheap. For example, Benzai has like a flip phone camera. He's using the shittiest camera.
He used to. He used to operate on a flip camera that was maybe $60.
This is working.
It's very quiet.
Okay. Go ahead.
He was operating on a camera that was about $60 for a long time, even up to the first anniversary show we did. And he did upgrade eventually, but for a long time he was shooting on the most ghetto camera I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But my advice to you is basically to increase your chances. I recommend that you bring your production values up above everybody else. So you're starting bare minimum, HD quality, great lighting. Don't be sitting in a dark room, something like that. Just have good lighting. Make it your production quality good, because if you look like your broadcast quality, it will grab people's attention. It's going to set you apart from the rest, and that's what you want. You want to be set apart from the rest.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you need to make your show pleasant to listen to. And when you start making it look ugly and it's really hard to see, you got to light it well. You got to make it look good. You got to be, you got to look somewhat. I mean, not you look clean. If it looks like you're broadcasting out of a bunker in Afghanistan,
Unless that's what you're going
it's not going
for.
to be very pleasant to listen to if your audio is not good.
Who likes listening to Bin Laden?
But like I said, you can always break the rules because there's Brad Jones, cinema stuff. But see, if you're good enough, you can break the rules. But I'm just telling you tips to help you out to get you.
Well, what I was going to say to that is that he is right. If you can get stuff to make it look good, and try as hard as you can to make it look good, but work within your limitations. So much good stuff can come with limitations. And Brad, for example, the reason Brad stuff works with, it's sort of the crummy looking camera and the, not wearing the shoes and stuff like that. It's because, well, I mean, wait, the stuff he reviews is on that level anyway. So it actually really works. And the way, he slicks his hair back, he's got the big glasses and stuff. And it's like, you can see this kind of character doing it this way. Or even Keith, like his stuff, it's supposed to be sort of like shot in the 90s and stuff, and so the camera sort of looks semi-oldish and stuff, but it still looks professional. You can tell it's intentional. I think that's what's important. So even if you don't have the best of everything, you don't have the best lighting, the best whatever, try to make it better. If you can't, work with it, incorporate it in, have fun with it.
Yeah. That camera right there, so I recommend prosumer cameras. If the hardest part is picking out a camera. You say, well, what do I need? How do I pick out a camera? Go to this website. It's super easy to remember. Camcorderinfo.com. That's it. They have a list of like top 50 cameras, and they break it down, and they go in and they review every single little aspect, aspect ratio formats, CCD chips, and all sorts of stuff. That right there is a Panasonic TM700. It's called a prosumer camera, so it's in between consumer cameras and like the real professional stuff. And so that's going to cost you between $400 to $700. But that's used. New, it can go to $800 to $1,000. And I know you use a $3,000 camera.
Well, after the batteries I bought and the microphones, yeah, around $3,000.
Yeah. So I mean, you made a good point in your panel about hard drive versus tape. For the longest time, I was on tape because I wanted to do like high action, and I was also filming my football practices. I was doing flag football, and the hard drives, when they first came out, you barely tap it, it would like reset the hard drive, and it would have to shut down and restart. But now hard drives have caught up with technology. Do a hard drive camera. They're the easiest because you're just sitting down in front of, you're doing your web show, you plug it up to a computer, press a button, transfers to the computer, you have everything right there. You don't have to sit there and wait with the tape.
Tape takes one-for-one time to play. You have to play it back into your computer. So if you have 3 hours to put it takes 3 hours to put in your computer. I would personally go SD cards. And it's like a hard drive. I love SD cards. It's much faster to upload your computer.
Well, and to add to that with the tapes, I did tapes for a very, very long time, and they work okay, but I mean, they usually take longer. And the big problem I found is that when you film as much as you do doing this, the tapes get wrecked, and they start to skip, and they get scratches and stuff like that. And that there's a lot of time, or like what used to happen is that suddenly a tape would get like really scratched up at the end, and maybe the last 10 minutes of something I shot is pretty much unusable. So I mean, it's not all the time, but if you use the tape long enough, it will happen. So I'd say they're totally right about that. If you can stay away from tapes, great. If you have to use them, okay, but there's better choices.
I know a lot of people swear by DV tapes, though, and won't use anything else. The reason being is you can archive the tapes. It's a physical, tangible thing you can put in the closet, and you have it, and you can catalog it. I don't see the logic in that, really, because if you want to archive something, I have a load of external hard drives. I have like 8 terabytes of hard drives externally that I keep and just keep physically saved. So all my project files, all my raw footage is on those hard drives. The tapes, I don't see the point really. That's just faster.
Yeah, and another really important aspect is the sound quality. Now, I'm one of the worst offenders for this. I used to have good sound quality when I was using my tape. I was actually in a different location, but I switched. And I've got tile everywhere now, so I'm standing sort of almost in my front doorway, and the sound reverberates off everything. And he made some really good points. If that's going to happen, you want a directional shotgun mic. I'm using it now. That is actually the Rode shotgun mic. I swear by it. Buy that one, because that one's really good. If you're just sitting in front of the camera and you're just talking and you're giving your show, that's the kind that you want. But mine's still kind of crappy because of the echo, and if your camera's far away, you're still going to get that echo. So what you have to do is you have to go and buy a boom and mic where it's like a stand and it comes up over you and then you just drop down that, put an extender and ratchet it so it plugs in your cable.
Now, boom mics are much harder to do on anything. Boom mics tend to, okay, the microphone input on that thing is like a stereo jack. It's that like this jack on your headphones. If you're trying to boom it, you have a special kind of microphone that has an XLR input. You know, basically like this. There's an input on the back of this. It's fairly hefty. Most cameras, most prosumer level cameras don't have that. So if you actually want to boom your shots, you have to go and you have to have a camera that takes the XLR inputs. And anytime you do that, you're basically tacking $1,500 on the price of your camera. The reason being is these cameras need what's called phantom power.
You mean microphone?
Yes.
You're taking advice from this man, people.
Microphones require a separate power source to do, and so most cameras don't do that. So the easier method most often is get a camera with a microphone jack that's small. That one does that.
And you can really only get that on the prosumer level when you have an accessory shield, like I said, that website.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, that's okay.
Well, now, personally, for me, and they're absolutely right, you know, good sound is very, very important. Something I found, just from a comedic standpoint, for what I do, like he was talking, when you talk normal, the echo can get distracting, but something I found with, say, like this Down Street video, what I actually found in old Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry cartoons is that when you scream, when you yell, when you get really angry, the echo makes it a lot funnier. You know, and if you ever notice, you watch the old Looney Tunes, the old Tom and Jerry's, and then you watch cartoons today, and you listen to the sound, it's like the sound actually, it's never quite as funny. It's because the sound equipment wasn't as good back then, so they had that echo. But the echo, what they yell, sounds so much louder, and therefore so much funnier. So even that you can use to your advantage, but still, you're right. If you want to be taken seriously, and you know, you want to sound good, sound good. You got a question there?
I think in some of your older reviews, the sound quality was rather low, and when you had figured out that your whining instead of yelling when you reacted to something was better, when you yelled, it echoed. You had that echo
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, no, and it I mean, it's like I said, and another important thing, just watch yourself. Well, watch your stuff, you know, edit it, look at, see what you can fix, and do a bunch of various takes, and just see what sounds good, because you're not going to know the first time what sounds good, you know. So I mean, just test it out, try variations, do yes.
And the last technical thing before we get into like successful strategies and comedy and that kind of stuff and how much money you can do, but is the editing software. That's really important. You know, and I'll let you speak on that a little bit. I'll just tell you guys what I use, and then Doug will tell you what he uses, etc. I used Sony Vegas Pro 9, and then I recently upgraded to Sony Vegas Pro 10. I swear by the program because it's cheaper than, say, like, you know, Adobe After Effects and Premiere Pro, the suite there. You're getting really expensive unless you do something smart, like buy the student version. But, so I wasn't that smart at the time, or I didn't know. I didn't have somebody who was going to college at that particular time. So I went with Sony Vegas Pro. It's excellent because anything I don't know how to do, I go on YouTube, and a 12-year-old teaches me how to do it. I'm serious. These guys are the next generation, so intelligent. I'm sitting here and I'm learning from him, and I'm listening to his voice. And the guys, so I don't know, how do they teach them? They teach themselves, but they teach me now. So that's what I use for editing, Sony Vegas Pro 10. What do you use?
I used to use Sony Vegas for a long time. I have no complaints about it. It was great. But I got a copy of Adobe Premiere Pro, and they're very similar in a lot of ways. So if you know how to use one, you pretty much know how to use the other. But Premiere Pro I really like because it renders directly to Flash.
Yeah, Sony Vegas won't render directly to FLV format, and blip, which is primarily what we use, you're going to have to re-render it in a different program. I use an Adobe Media Encoder to go to FLV.
But they are rather expensive.
Open source?
Adobe?
Open source versions of editing software.
I don't think so. None that I've seen.
You know, they're cheap solutions, and
Really?
I don't know if there's free ones. I haven't searched around. Yeah.
The wiki page talks about all the editing software you can get.
Okay, do your research. There might be some free solutions. But like I said, some of these programs allow us to do some of the more complicated things, and we're just sort of like versed in it. Like the reason why I don't upgrade to Premiere Pro, because I think that's what you use, Premiere, is it takes a lot of time to learn. And don't just think that you're going to go out and earn all this money and then drop $2,000 or $500 or whatever and think you're going to know everything. You need to have a plan. The manual is a piece of crap. So you gave a website where you can have all these video tutorials on how to do everything.
Yeah, editing is kind of a funny thing. When it's done well, you don't even notice it. So like if I bring up some kind of movie reference and then I kind of cut seamlessly to a movie reference that's going on camera, that's a lot harder to do than you'd think. So when good editing, it very much flows and it's natural. When bad editing is there and you really notice it, it distracts you. When there's like brief 2-frame cuts of another scene just before another edit, it really bothers you. And so that's where just practice comes into play. But if you want to learn it, and you have to learn how to use editing software, I didn't know how to use any kind of editing software when I started, and it's very intimidating. It's really intimidating to think of, like, I'm going to spend $800 on an editing suite. I have no idea how to use. I have no idea if I'm going to like it. But you've got to basically take that plunge if you want to do it. And so, really the best ways. There's books that exist. You can find a book, but if you don't like to read, there's a website called lynda.com, lynda.com, that has training courses, video training courses that will walk you through every single step, and it's really about $60 to get this basically DVD that'll teach you how to do simple stuff to advanced stuff. You know, just very simple putting together of things that you might not know otherwise. I really like the Lynda course.
Well, another question that actually a lot of people ask, and actually I don't even know the answer to you, but they ask because Adobe Premiere, a lot of these editing programs don't actually copy the video in. Like if I'm reviewing a movie, they don't record the movie in. You have to get another program for that. What I use for that is Pinnacle Studio, which is also an editor, but I recommend going with Adobe. That's much more user-friendly. It's a good beginner one. But you're probably going to want to move on from there. I use Pinnacle to copy my footage. What about you guys to get your footage?
From movies?
Like from get the movie into the computer.
From games, me and him both use, or at least I know you own, the HD PVR. It's from Hop, and it allows me to record footage directly from my Xbox, and it's perfect because it's an HD, and it just I have a USB extender, a 15-foot extender. I take it from my living room all the way to my computer room, plug it right into my computer, and it goes.
But are you talking more getting footage from your camera to your computer, or getting
No, like from a movie.
From a movie? Oh yeah, I use the big thing I use is a DVD recorder. So, but if it's from a DVD, I have a Ripper program called Handbrake. Handbrake's really good, but if it's from an external source, like if it's from an Xbox or a PlayStation or even a VCR, I plug it into a DVD recorder. Really, I'm the most happy with that. The PVR, I find tends to be a little finicky. It tends to crash at really awkward times, forcing me to start over, and so there's nothing worse than playing 4 hours of a game and then coming back and the program crashed 10 minutes in.
Now, is that the actual name of the software, the program, whatever? It's just DVD recorder?
No, it's a physical DVD recorder. It's a device.
You can buy them.
Okay, no, that's the name of the device. If I was to go to a store and say, hey, I want a DVD recorder, they just give it to you.
Yes. Yeah, you put a blank DVD, you put a blank DVD-R in there, and you set up the channel, and you hit record, and then 70 minutes later, okay.
Yeah, but that's because you do archival stuff. I mean, you record all 40 hours. What I try to do is I run back and forth from my room, and I try to get the good stuff only so that I don't have, 75 gigabytes of footage on my computer.
Well, I guess my argument there is, when I'm playing these games, sometimes the best moments come when you don't expect them.
That's true.
Like in Final Fantasy VIII, there's a scene with this UFO just flies across the screen. I'm like, it ties into nothing, it means nothing, but if I was just trying to get plot points, I would have missed that.
Yeah.
I guess hard drive space, you didn't need.
Yeah, you're going to need a big hard drive. I mean, I'm recently starting to record everything now, and it's been easy since some of the games I've been reviewing are like 4 hours or less.
The hard drive space is relatively cheap. If you get an external hard drive, $80 will get you 2 terabytes.
I think we got a question.
First off, I understand your love for the Hopage HD PVR. I use that myself. It's a great piece of technology.
It is.
I was using
For
the Adaptec.
recent games, I think the reason why it's crashing on you is because you use it for like older consoles. Like if you're just doing Xbox or PlayStation 3, it seems
It behaves a lot better for modern consoles. If I tried to plug my VCR into it, it doesn't know what the hell to do with it.
Before that, I was using the Adaptec Game Bridge, which only takes composite input, and I'm like, God, upgrade.
Yeah.
I also, with regards to editing software, Up until recently, I was using Premiere Pro. I actually just started using Avid as it was recommended.
Avid.
Apparently, it's what Hollywood uses to edit. I just wanted to know if any of you had thoughts on that, if you've ever seen it or used it.
I've heard of it. I've never used it.
It's amazing.
From what I've heard, Avid is evil. I know Lindsay Ellis edits an Avid. I really have no experience with that. It is what Hollywood tends to use, and if you're trying to get a job as a professional editor, they probably will ask if you are trained at all or knowledgeable in Avid. I know it is insanely expensive.
Yeah.
Probably more so than even Premiere. Another choice is Final Cut Pro. Anyone who uses a Mac pretty much swears by Final Cut Pro. I have never used a Mac, so but I know the Angry Video Game Nerd uses Final Cut Pro exclusively.
Yeah.
So it's probably really good.
Let me talk a little bit about you know, how to make a living off a web show. I mean, this is pretty much what you're all wondering: how much money can I make a living off this? Can I start doing this as a job? The answer is no. Well, the answer is well, it's a bit of no and yes, unlikely. First, I'll tell you just to give you a little sticker shot of the total startup cost. So camcorder, I use and recommend Canons and Panasonics. Because well, they're the only ones I've worked with. But that's $500 to $800. And then you want lighting. You're going to want a video lighting kit. About 2 soft boxes. They're video lighting. You go on eBay, just do video lighting. They're about $170. And if you're using a green screen like I do for a lot of my videos, and the reason why my green screen looks so good is because I have a fill light. You want to try to get as much distance between you and the green screen as you can, and get it directly down so that you kind of pop from the screen. That is another, the sound, well, that's included in the $200. So it's $170, $200. Sound, $50 for your boom mic stand. That Rode shotgun is $150. Editing, $600 for Sony Vegas Pro 10. Maybe another $100 if you're going to do FX. I recommend Action Essentials 2 from Video Copilot. Those guys are really good. They also have some tutorials on that website. Then you got costumes and props. That's variable. But all said and done, you're looking, if you're starting from scratch and you have nothing, you're looking at in between $1,500 and $2,000. You know, $2,500. It just depends on the cost of the camera.
And you're right. You're absolutely right. But you're also forgetting PC upgrade costs.
Oh, that's right. If you want to work with that HD footage that I'm highly recommending, you're going to need a hardcore computer. Not no 4 gigabytes of RAM. No, that's old school now. Because Spoony, I'm running 16 gigabyte RAM. And Spoony's doing, what do you call it?
24.
24
Oh,
gigabytes
shit.
of RAM. So you're going to be dropping a lot.
You think that's a lot?
Yeah, there's you know, and this is, and we still have like, you know, PC computers. We're like a level right before the workstation. Some people will do on workstations. What's your computer? I'm really curious.
I type things and it goes. now, with that said, I mean, that's why it's so good to have these two here because, you know, from my angle, I came into it, and they'll vouch for me, I'm a technological moron. No, I mean, I know very little about computers, and it was so strange, you know, that I'm making a living on this because in a lot of ways I really do know so little about it, you know, about RAMs and hard drive space and all that stuff. I'm learning more, but I'm still not anywhere near, like, you know, I mean, these guys know it, and it is important to know it, it's good to know it. If you know, if it's something you can't grasp, if it's something you're having trouble with and stuff like that, get someone who does know about it, have somebody help you out, because, I mean, that's what happened with me. Again, that's where the luck came in with me, because, you know, I was friends with Margot, who hooked me up with Mike Mashad, and that's sort of how this whole thing happened. They know the technical side, and they know the business side as well. And I don't have that in my head. My head does not work that way. So that's why it works out so well. So they know, yes, go and do this, or do you think we should, you know, incorporate this ad, or do you think we should go with these people, or do you think it's a good reviewer? They're much better about that stuff that, you know, I can't handle. So sometimes a partnership isn't bad. You have to keep in mind that you're gonna lose a little bit, you know, because you have to, you know, split it. But again, if it's something you're really determined about and you want to do, and you just know you don't have the time or whatever to really focus or understand this stuff, you know, you pay the sacrifice and you work with someone else to handle it. But or I mean, if you can learn it, great. I mean, that's ideally the best. But it's, if you can't, you have to have somebody else who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, I just had a question because I do film reviews on YouTube. That's Cinema Simpleton, by the way. And for someone who's wanting to get in like a profession, because I know like the web is basically the primary medium for getting like entertainment and stuff like that. For game or movie reviews, maybe you're going to get into this in your presentation, but what tips and advice would you guys give for someone who's wanting to get into reviewing games or movies?
I think we are going to get into
Well,
it.
yeah. Well, I'll jump into that real quickly, and then I'll tell you about the CPMs and how much you make. So my advice, and this is just from me, and I think these guys will agree with me too. You know, there was a quote, and I really love this quote. I saw it on a poster somewhere. Is the shortest distance between two people is laughter. And so comedy works for me, and it works for Doug, and obviously Noah. But there's other ways to do it. You know, you can be analytical about it. Bennett DeSage is very successful at being, you know, very intelligent in breaking down games. But for me, you know, how I identify with my audience is I use comedy. So, you know, for me, comedy is the best way to go. That's what would you guys say?
Authenticity a lot. I mean, so much in terms of criticism, especially if you want to be taken seriously, is that people trust you, that they don't think you've sold out, or that they think you're being phony. That's the big thing for me, is because people. That's why I think Ebert is so successful in a lot of ways. Is not a lot of people disagree with Ebert, quite vehemently, in fact. But they trust him, and they actually like his reviews because they always know Ebert is telling the truth. They know Ebert is being Ebert. So if nothing else, you have a foundation of, you know where this guy's coming from, and at least if you disagree with him, you know that it's
Like Armin White.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably always telling the truth, but he's cool.
But it's fun to argue. I mean, and besides that, it's also fun to be open and be able to you can argue with this guy, and it's kind of that friendly atmosphere.
Yeah. It's being honest and combining comedy and sort of informing while entertaining. Now, I don't claim to be funny, because I'm not funny. I just try to be entertaining. These guys are funny.
You should be so hard on yourself. What I would say is, I mean, really sort of how I, got into it is, or what my mindset was, when you go online, what are you looking for? What are you, looking to find, and to try to make something similar. Or if what you're looking for isn't online, make it. And with web shows, they're totally right about being very truthful. And you have to go all out. You have to put all your passion into it. And yeah, it doesn't have to be funny. Right now, that is the hot thing on the internet right now, because it is so new, and just anything at the beginning of at its beginning, a comedy's gonna be best because it's very it's very quick. It's very fast. It just hits you right away. Something dramatic. You have to take your time. You have to set the characters. You have to really make a connection. Which is not that it can't be done, but it takes more time, and people their attention spans on the internet, as most of us know, are not isn't super long. So comedy right now works best, but that doesn't mean you can't try something else. And you can experiment with it. Have fun, see what you can discover. But as of now, comedy seems to be the big.
Okay, so for you, young, people starting up your own shows, this is where it comes. So you have to understand what CPM means. This is the making money part. So CPM, it sort of stands for cost per 1,000 impressions. So you get 1,000 views on YouTube, this is how much money you make from it. And with the advertisers, first off, you have to have a partnership, or if you use Blip, you're already set to go. You just check, I would like to put ads on my videos and earn a revenue, and then they give you a share of the revenue. So basically, for every 1,000 views, say for example, if the CPMs on YouTube, they're really bad, I'm not allowed to share that, but other video services and things like that, for example, how can I do this without giving away numbers? Okay, yeah, we give ranges. So, like, when it's, the ad market is so volatile, and that's another thing. You have to plan ahead, because some months it'll be great, and other months it'll be absolute shit. And so you need to save your money, or need to plan ahead. Some months you can do, like, 5 CPM, or, some of the other video services are like $2.50 CPM, stuff like that. But on good months, it could get to 10 CPM or
Christmas.
15.
Christmas is good.
And that's when it's really good. Now, here's how you do the math on this. So if your CPM is $2, that's really crappy, that's really low, and you get 10,000 views, how much is that? So you're going to get, $20 off that video, right? So Blip TV, if you're making $5 CPM when it's crappy, $10 CPM when it's good, and $15 CPM when it's rare, take that example and set your goal for 10,000 views. If you can do 10,000 views, then you're starting to make a name for yourself. You're starting to be able to sort of do it, or at least bring in a little bit of part-time type money if you're doing videos consistently, say between 6 and 8 videos a month. So if you're doing that, $5 CPM, 10,000 views, that's $50 an episode. You just made yourself $50 an episode. $100 would be if it was $10 CPM. So that same episode that would have made you $50 makes you double that amount if you double your CPM. And that's why it's really good to have videos ready during really good, ad areas. $15 CPM, $150 an episode. Now we're talking. Now you're making a little bit of money, and that's at 10,000 views. So you want to kind of sort of set your goal for 10,000 views for each one of your episodes. And if you're putting out 8 videos a month, which is tough but doable, you're looking at between, depending on the CPMs, if that same range, $5 to $15, $400 to $1,200 a month. So, kind of part-time money, but it's gas money, it's extra money. What's it?
Do videos in your archive still make you money for views?
Yeah, that's what's good. So once you get some steam, once you get a bunch of videos. Like I have 250 videos in my library. If you stay consistent, if you continue making videos, all those past episodes will still earn the revenue. But I will tell you, it drops off quite a bit because initially, at least on YouTube, what happens is you put your video up. Day 1, 2, and 3 is where you're going to get all your hits. After day 3, it's going to fall hardcore. You're only going to get maybe a few views every once in a while, unless people start searching for it or that specific video. And it's almost the same way on Blip. When we put and on that guy with the glasses, when we put up our videos there, when it first goes on that front page on that main slider, that's when you're going to get all the hits. And then when it goes to that side slider, you're still going to get a little bit of hits. And when it drops off that, once again, your views are going to go in the toilet unless people are specifically looking at your show. Oh, I want to watch the rest of the Angry Joe show. But yes, all your previous episodes do make you money.
But I was going to say, it's a lot like with movies. When a movie comes out, what's going to be the big money maker? The opening weekend. Well, the opening weekend is going to make it the most money. And then after that, is it going to keep going up? It can, but it's very unlikely. But at the same time, if you have, you make a movie, big box office, maybe it sells on DVD or something like that, but, something like the Star Trek movies and the James Bond movies, if you have a lot of those in your bag, well, even if they're not making much, you have a lot of them. And so just little here, little here, little here, it can pile up. If someone like Brad Jones who just pumps out videos like mad, and they're not all, they're masterpieces, of course they're good, but they're not all, masterpieces, but he has, a lot of them. And that stuff, like I said, if you just, be passionate and make a lot of them, because people online also do get very impatient. They do have short attention spans.
Oh, yeah.
And
where's that next episode?
Yeah, and we put out, I put out usually 3 a week. Even
that is hard.
Yeah, no, it's like, when's the next Ask That Guy? When's the next video game convention and stuff? It's in demand. So if you can have a lot on standby, it really helps, and it does.
Controversy helps.
So and that's 10,000 views. Now here's the potential, right? But I'm putting hope into your eyes. That's 10,000 views, right? Well, if you do $10 CPM, 10,000 views, that's $100. Now, what happens if you do 20,000 views? What happens if you do 50,000 views or 100,000? Or what does AVGN do? He does 1 million views. You take that $10 CPM and you do it by that, you're making quite a good money. But it's so hard to get to that level. I've been in this 2-3 years, and it's like you have to if you want a lot of views, you have to just find your niche, find what's popular, see what people are talking about, and then put your input onto it.
It's the odds of success are a lot like any kind of acting position, really. There's a lot of actors out there. There's only a very few that are making a significant amount of money. I worked for years at a dinner theater, making $20 a performance, which was extremely rare to get any kind of money. So I was very fortunate to even get like a paid dinner theater job. And you know, internet reviewing is a lot like acting in a lot of ways. It takes you got to be good at what you do, and you got to be passionate about it. But really, if you're looking to go into it as a job, the odds of success, even if you are very talented, are kind of slim. So you got to be able, you got to love what you do.
It's easier than, say, you know, moving to LA and go, you know, talking to the Hollywood people. Like, there's a particular guy, one of my friends, I don't want to name him by names, but, you know, he's in talks with Adult Swim to possibly get a show. And he actually shared some numbers with me on how much, you know, he would make per episode, and then he would get a cut of the revenue. And then I thought about it, and I was like, everybody, you know, some of the bigger names on YouTube, they make 10 times, 20 times the people on Adult Swim, the writers for those shows, or even the stars for those shows. The potential is amazing, but just like Hollywood, it's very difficult to get that breakout and become a phenomenon like the Angry Video Game Nerd or Doug, you know, the Nostalgia Critic. But if you can, the potential's there. But you just have to have the passion for it and not expect that to come. Don't be like, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? No, you just have to have, you know, you should be able to do it for free, you know, for your fans. And if your fans see that, they will genuinely see that you're just doing this for fun, you're doing this for them, and success will soon follow.
Well, one other thing I want to say in terms of consistency is that just how important that is. Something I find is that a lot of people say, I look forward to every Wednesday watching your Nostalgia Critic, or every, you know, and that I find more and more is very important because people like patterns. They like going to, I'm looking forward to this day, and they like, you know, it's like eating breakfast. It's just, okay, this is a habit. When they get in a habit, they don't like to break it. So not only do you have a lot of them, but you have a consistency when they come out. That helps a lot online too, because people can watch something. I mean, I know people watch my videos and watch all of it, but a lot of people just put it on while they're doing something else, some other work, you know, or something like that, and they just like hearing the sound, and they just look forward to it, and, you know, they sort of put that in the background while they're working and stuff like that. So again, consistency, I think, is also very, very important. You paid your hand up forever.
Yeah. I was wondering, besides money and all that, for the current number of episodes that you do per month, about how many hours do you put into that? Like, per day?
Me personally, or all of us?
All of you.
For me, the big one's the Nostalgia Critic, and that takes roughly, it does take about roughly a week. But what I try to do, while making the other videos, I try to take a day to watch them. My brother and I watch them. We shout jokes at and take notes. The next day, I write it out in a script format. Day after that, I film it. Day after that, I usually try to, you know, just sort of edit it in order, just take out the parts where I'm reading the script and going, you know, and stuff like that. And then the day after that, I put in the film bits, the effects. I make it a complete breakfast. But now that's 5 days. I try to give myself 2 days off, and that's, give yourself a day off. I mean, for some of you that might not be a problem, but it is important to remember to give yourself a break. But I also have those 2 days as a bleed over day, just in case. With the other videos, those are a lot quicker because they're improvised. You know, the bum reviews are improvised, Ask That Guy. So, you know, I set up the lighting, I have my plan, put the costume on, and, you know, I just sort of go. So it takes about an hour to shoot a bum episode, a little time to import into the computer, maybe an hour to edit and export it and put it on the website. So those are shorter. But I know that what brings in the big money for me is the Nostalgia Critic, so that's the thing that I work the hardest on and try to push those out.
For me, guys, because I also run Blistered Thumbs, and then I have the Angry Joe Show, and then I upload all my own stuff to my own personal website, angryjoeshow.com, and then YouTube and all this other stuff. And I do video games as opposed to movies. I'm not joking. You might think I'm joking, but I work 70 to 80 hours a week. And I haven't had a vacation in like 3 years. So it can be wearing, but it's doing something you love. And I love video games, and I love sharing my opinion. I love steering people towards good video games and keeping them away from bad video games. So that's what keeps me going. And plus, I read all my comments, and that keeps me going. But it takes me, you know, 70, 80 hours a week. The Angry Joe shows, it depends on how long the game is, and it's true for us. Especially him. He does RPGs. You know, some of these games, if it's 4 hours long, hell, I got the review done sooner, and I can start editing, and I can do more effects on you know, and the effects take longer and stuff. But when a game is an RPG, it takes, you know, 20, 30 hours, and I feel this obligation. I need to finish the game because sometimes at the very end, there's like this really cheap-ass ending, or they cut you off, and I need to know that in order to tell you guys that. So my episodes, Angry Joe Show, it's probably between 10 to 12 hours to do everything. You know, the shooting is really quick because I'm really quick about that, but the editing is where I like to spend most of my time because then I put in effects and stuff like that. So 70, 80 hours a week for me as far as the whole encompassing, you know, web show that I do.
All told, I probably work 12 to 14 hours a day on stuff, just because I'm involved with every aspect of the production. I'm doing pretty much everything myself. In terms of writing, I tend to spend a day watching and taking notes on footage. If the footage is longer, sometimes that takes 2 or even 3 days. Just doing nothing but that. Filming tends to take me about 6 to 8 hours for review. More if there's a lot of kind of strange costume changes and green screening, it takes me more. But yeah, about 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. It's a job. I mean, it's really what it is. And so I love doing it, but it does become a job.
It's like you own your own business. You know, when you start your own business, you're going to be working double what normal people work, right? Because you are your own boss, you know, so you have to be ready for that. I don't see my friends anymore, unless I trick them into coming. Unless I trick them into coming and playing the back games with me or being in my videos, that's the only time I interact with my friends. And now I have a good excuse not to go downtown and, you know, it's like, hey man, you want to go dancing with us and drink? No, I gotta, you know, film this, so I gotta play this really shitty game. And I hate you guys, get out of here.
It makes you silly, like, oh, you poor baby, you get to watch movies and play video games.
Don't feel sorry for me.
But they're bad.
Well, and here's the other thing is that, you know, I think there's sort of this idea that, you know, you review internet, or you're an internet reviewer and stuff like, oh god, that must be so easy, it must be so good. Well, no, now here's the thing. There are many perks to it. Working from home is wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic. You know, and setting your own schedule is also wonderful. You know, but you do have to be your own boss. And what I always tell people, they say, you know, is it hard work? For me, no, it's not hard work because you love it. It is long work, though. And you have to be willing to, and that's why I say again, you have to love it because it's long work and it's very time consuming. So, yeah, again, I think you have to go in with that passion.
It's like watching the movie Jerry.
So,
get the reward at the end,
so, you know, if you have a goal of 10,000 views, you ask yourself, well, how do I get to 10,000 views? You know, early on, you know, first, you know, you sort of establish your identity, you do what you're best at, you let your personality shine through. I say don't ever be wishy-washy. You know, if you have an opinion, stick with your opinion, be very strong about it, be passionate. Nobody wants to watch a person go back and forth for 10 minutes and 15 minutes. They want to know this is why it sucks, or this is why it's good, or this is why I like it. I want to talk a little bit about YouTube versus Blip TV. You know, if you don't have an audience yet, if you're just starting your web show and you've got a small audience but not a big one, Blip TV is pretty tough because it's not like YouTube. You put your video on YouTube and not only will people see it when they do random searches about something else, if you do that on Blip TV, nobody's going to see your video because Blip TV doesn't really have that same kind of YouTube community where it is the biggest video distribution site in the world. So there's benefits, so that's why I started out on YouTube because I got my audience on YouTube, I built them up. When I was first starting out, I used, these videos are very successful, so if you need a crutch, if you need something, here's what you do. Top 10 videos. Everybody loves top 10 videos. You know, they want to see what does your top 10.
I saw today.
Yeah, exactly. Does yours match up with mine? You know, and so those videos always do really well. And even though I knew they still do well, you know, at this time I still kind of do my own thing because I want to do what's passionate and what's interesting to me. I just don't want to force out a top 10 video. But yeah, that's a quick video that you could do to sort of build your readership. Put a top 10 video on YouTube, see how it does. I bet you it'll do better than your current format. And once you get some viewers there, they're like, wow, that guy's pretty cool. I have similar interests as him. Then you have your normal shows, and they're like, all right, and they start watching your regular shows, and that's sort of how you build your audience early on.
Yeah, YouTube's kind of the establishment. It was always it was a harrowing time when I decided to leave YouTube because I wasn't making any money off it, and they were starting to flag my stuff. For weird reasons too, like the theme song I have. They flagged my videos because I was using licensed music. And I emailed them and I go, you know I have permission from the Irresponsibles to use this, right? And they're like, they didn't answer. They just kept.
Yeah, they don't give a damn.
You'll appeal videos, and they'll be like, your appeal has been denied. Thank you.
It's a form letter.
I have like written permission from these guys.
Yeah.
I bothered them to write a letter, and they won't. There's no. They will either they'll mute your video or they'll delete your video. And muting is just as good as deleting. I don't know what mute is like.
Or the channel.
Yeah. Your channel completely. So what you have to do is you have to apply for YouTube partnership, and then they sort of work with you. They relax because they're making money off you. Because they take a cut. The Angry Joe Show, when I first started, I started to get a lot of viewers. We're going, 1,000 subscribers, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I thought I was hot shit. I was like, all right, I'm going to apply for a YouTube partnership. So I applied for a YouTube partnership, got denied. Then I was like, oh. So then I applied again, and they have a 2-month window. You can only apply every 2 months. So I applied. My subscribership's 20,000, 30,000, and I'm still getting denied. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I'm one of the bigger reviewers here. What's going on? I got denied 8 or 9 times before I finally got a partnership through the Game Station, which is sort of like a machinima. And it's because YouTube is very, very, I don't want to use that word, but they are very strict. They are very strict people about licensing and contents and stuff like that. And so what Machinima does and what that Game Station does is they sort of take on the legal responsibilities and now have a team of lawyers and stuff like that, and they'll kind of bring you under their wing, and it's a little more acceptable to kind of open those stuff up. So they'll give you a partnership. But because YouTube, there's a lot more views there, their CPMs are a lot lower than, say, Blip TV. I can tell you that. So that's why it's good to start your own website. So in addition to your YouTube stuff, direct people to your own website that you create. So you do angryjoeshow.com, that's where you put all your Blip videos. So you get your audience on YouTube with, getting 10,000 views, and you say, hey, you like my stuff? Go over to my website. And they'll go over to your website and they'll watch your Blip stuff. And you get maybe 1,000 views on your Blip player. But because it's much better CPMs, you'll be making about the same.
You gotta pimp your website. You gotta put links to
Pimp your
videos.
website. Nobody's gonna pimp you but you. Don't be afraid to pimp yourself. Gentleman over there.
Go total pour out. What we should probably do is run a little low on time. I think we should probably just take questions.
Okay, sure, you're good.
So let's just let Lucia.
For videos like Kikassia and Suburban Nights, do you expect higher CPMs? And if you do, how do you divide the funds up between yourselves?
Well, I mean, stuff like that is, that is a bit of an investment, but it's never to a point where it's going to break us. But yeah, it's pretty much, on top of the CPMs, though, we also have DVD sales, which helps out a lot. So, yeah, I mean, with the first year... Or you hit yourself up? Yeah, I say the combination of those. Well, on top of that, like the the crossovers that people do and stuff like that. I mean, all that stuff feeds in, and people love crossovers, and yeah, they like watching the yearly anniversary. So yeah, it's almost always going to be.
Mike is the business side, so he knows about all this. We don't really know all that much, but you imagine how much it costs to take. What were like 20 video producers, 29 video producers.
Stuff from New Zealand.
Some New Zealand branch. You're talking about $1,500, $2,000, then all the hotel rooms. It gets pretty expensive, but it's all about. But it's unparalleled to get all of these people in the same place and see them working together and doing the collaborations. I mean, this is my favorite part of working with Channel Awesome is the year anniversaries. They're so fun and they're so worth it.
Let's do a guy in the lectures and down here.
Yeah, thanks. And there's one thing I've been curious about, like compared to what you were saying for people who's trying to get out there. But say because how this is growing the more cynical years where people try to nitpick, saying like where they're trying to copy others. Because I remember seeing this one person who does online reviews by the name of the Critic, who does like various like random stuff like certain movies or animes like more modern times. But he kept being compared to you and Kara. He even made jokes about it. He was ripping off your stuff. But even it was like all April Fool's joke stuff. But people would take it so seriously. So how would you respond to those who are trying to get new stuff but deal with such criticisms as saying that you're ripping off of other materials or just not being original there?
So I just because I was there, you anytime someone throws something negative at you or something, or if it's a legit problem, if you know, this person's right, I'm doing something wrong. I mean, you should fix it. You should probably find a clever way to either address it or at the very least fix it or stop doing it. But if it's something where it's like, no, this is my thing and stuff like that, again, be clever about it. The whole thing with the video game nerd, I was getting a lot of people say, oh, you're very similar. You sort of got, a very similar thing going on. And I made the video calling him out, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be funny if this turned into a huge big battle? I never thought it would happen, but sure enough, I sent him an email, never expecting to get an email back. Just sort of saying, hey, just to clarify, this is just for fun. I don't really hate you. No, because a lot of people thought, you son of a bitch. And he wrote me back and said, no, I see it. I love your 5-second movies. Those are great and stuff like that. Maybe there is something funny here. And we just started chatting and we went from there. So just take it, turn it into something positive. Just work with it, and keep going. Don't let it stop you. I mean, if it gets really big, a lot of people are talking about, you sort of have to address it in some way or another. And usually the best way to address it is with comedy. Again, I mean, it's just a great way to acknowledge a fault has happened, but you're acknowledging it, you're making fun of yourself, and people love it when you can make fun of yourself and have a joke, show you have a good sense of humor.
Me, myself, I was very concerned when I first started out. My name is Angry Joe, okay? And you have angry video game nerds. So, I was expecting a lot of hate, a lot of, emails and hate mail and stuff like that. But, I actually didn't know too much about the nerd. I think I saw like 1 or 2 videos, and in the back of my mind, like, it inspired me and stuff. But I didn't know too much about him. And honestly, I haven't gotten that much hate or anything like, oh, you're just an AVG ripoff. And I'm really surprised by that, because I would have expected more, because I heard that he has, very dedicated fans, are very passionate about his stuff, and they'll go and they'll attack people. But I haven't gotten a whole lot of that. And I think it's because, my show is definitely different. You are doing something different, and people want to it's easier for them to label you, you're just a ripoff or something like that. But, if you have a different format, and you have a different format, and just because you both have angry in your name, nobody has a copyright on being angry. Being true and being honest, that this thing really sucks, don't play it, or this is how I feel about it. So, for the most part, you kind of have to shrug off that stuff or ignore it. Don't bring attention to it, because some of them can just be trolls. They're looking to bait you so that they can then become famous off of making controversy off you.
That's a very good point. That's something I should bring up. Only address it if it looks like the majority of your viewers are the same. If it's just a troll, it's a troll. Or if it's a little group of trolls, it's just a little group of trolls. And he's exactly right. Don't give attention to it, because that's exactly what they're looking for.
I don't think we have time for any more questions, because we got 5 minutes. I think the last thing I'd like to say is, I forgot to mention this in my own panel. You're making yourself a public figure. And when that happens, you're going to get criticism. You're going to get a lot of it. You're going to get, good support, and you're going to get people who hate you.
And you're going to make mistakes.
If you get more and more hate, sometimes in the case, that means that you're growing. You're getting an even more audience, and you're bringing on new people.
That's very true.
And you know what? Those people that say they hate you and they hate your guts, they watch your video.
All
because they want to pick it apart. So it's like, thank you for the view, sir.
Exactly.
We're not cut out for that kind of criticism. I've gotten threats. I've had people wish me to get hit by a truck full of cancer. I hope you die getting hit by a truck.
My favorite was you need to shave your mustache, you pubic lip fuck.
I've had people make fun of my big Jew nose. They say like
I laugh about it.
But I know people who would be like, I have a big Jew nose. You gotta be secure in that what you do is funny
and thick skin,
and you gotta be able to shrug that stuff off. And it's hard. It's really hard, especially when people rightly pick out some flaws in your technique, or they'll be like, the sound here is really not that good. It's hard to listen to. And, some of my videos, my early videos, were not that good. And all you gotta do is, if they're right, fix it.
Yeah, take feedback. Take constructive criticism. Take feedback.
But if they're obviously trying to bait you, you got to be able to recognize that and know that criticism is really just trying to get a rise out of you and be able to shrug it off. And that's hard. It's harder than you think, especially when you're dealing with, I got 19,000 some Twitter followers. Even if 1% of those guys hate my guts, that's a lot. That's it's 1,900 people. Or that's not 190 people. Math. It's like 190 people were going to send me really diabolical death threats. So
Yeah, there was some really
But to keep in mind with that too, I mean, what kind of sucks is that negative feedback is always. I mean, if like 9 out of 10 people love your stuff, but one doesn't, you're gonna want to know about that one. That one's gonna drive you nuts. You're gonna want to find out about that.
It draws your attention, really.
Yeah, but you have to remind yourself there's still 9, that really like it. You have to feed on the positive. You have to really trust what you're doing, because for whatever reason, negativity really it gets such a faster impact. I mean, it's the survival instinct that when we hear something negative, it's like, okay, I have to draw my attention because I want to survive. I want to, I want to stay positive and everything. So,
but if you talk to those people that are those 9 people and say, what can I do better? They'll give you constructive feedback better than any troll.
Yeah.
That's all the time we got. Thanks for coming.